Good morning. My name is Jacob. Good evening. My name is Jacob. Good afternoon. My name is Jacob. And welcome to another episode of Uncut on the Brace of Conversations platform. In this episode, I would like to share my views on the recent development with regards to Donald Trump's executive order to grant refugee status to white people, especially Afrikaners in South Africa. And it's based on a claim that there is currently a genocide taking place in South Africa. Now, one of the requirements for a genocide is persecution. So there needs to be a level of persecution towards a specific group of people based on their ethnicity, religion, and other aspects. And there needs to be a targeted effort to erase that particular group or exterminate that group from the given society. For example, what is currently happening in Palestine, especially when it comes to Gaza, but also the West Bank. So there's an actual genocide taking place, but the Trump government doesn't recognize that genocide. So if we look and compare that to the conditions of white people in South Africa, then we get to an outrageous truth. And that truth is that since 1994 in post-apartheid South Africa, white people have maintained most of the privileges that they gained through colonialism and apartheid in South Africa. And they are mostly still largely the owners of assets when it comes to the land, the mines, hard assets, liquid. To put it in more layman's terms, they have the money. And people who look like me and black people in general does not have the money and assets to live this comfortable life that they are living in South Africa. Now, that doesn't take away that they experience crime, but the majority of South Africans also experience crime. Now, I give this as a background to come to a specific word that I want us to think about. This word is persecution, because for an actual genocide to take place, there needs to be a level of persecution that is taking place. Now, here's an interesting fact. The group of people that have seen the most persecution throughout colonial times and even apartheid is the Khoekhoe and San people in South Africa. And it's a fact that is normally not recognized even in post-apartheid South Africa. So we have this group of people in South Africa that has been persecuted, oppressed, and even marginalized within South African society. And if we look at their living standards today, it is way lower than white Afrikaner people in South Africa. Some of the people that were responsible for the persecution, the oppression and marginalization of Khoekhoe and San people in South Africa is that same Afrikaners throughout the history of South Africa. So that's a reality, or maybe an understanding this group of white people who left South Africa yesterday doesn't want to recognize. They put forward many reasons, but there's the one truth that they don't want to share. The group that is close second when it comes to persecution is other indigenous groups like Xhosa, Tswana, Sotho, Ndebele, Tsonga. There's a range of other indigenous groups in South Africa that experience the same level of persecution, oppression, and marginalization as Khoekhoe and San people in South Africa. And this group of people were classified later as black people in South Africa. And during the apartheid regime, it became so oppressive that they experienced the worst levels of violence that humans have experienced in South Africa. So the indigenous groups and people in South Africa are the most persecuted, oppressed and marginalized groups in South Africa by Afrikaner and white people, generally in South Africa. And they created or negotiated for a post-apartheid system where they will remain with the assets and the wealth, where the majority of the indigenous people doesn't have the assets or the lands to better themselves. So if we look at the number of people that left South Africa on Monday morning, it's only 49 people, it's not even 50. And there's about 4 million Afrikaners in South Africa. Now this is a testament that the majority of Afrikaner people doesn't see a home or the benefits in another country, because they know the levels of comfort that they experience in South Africa will not be the same levels of comfort that they will experience in another country. So they are not the persecuted minority as Trump and his government put it forth. They actually some of the most wealthiest people in South Africa. Now, I do not deny that they experience violence, but highlighting their violence is minimizing the violence that black people and other indigenous groups are experiencing in South Africa. And that is the reality that I want people to focus on. So when you speak about the violence that white people experience, there's more black people in South Africa that is dying on a daily basis because of the structural violence that colonialism and apartheid has created. So if we compare that to the levels of violence that white people experience, then it's a small fraction compared to the structural violence that black people are experiencing in South Africa. So violence in South Africa is a general phenomenon, and it is not proportionally experienced by all racist groups in South Africa. It largely depends where you are living. So if you are in Cape Town and you live in an area like Welgemoot, Durbanville, you are much safer than people living in Bellville South, Delft, Khayelitsha, Nyanga. You're way safer because you have the means to keep yourself safe. The people that is trapped in Nyanga, Delft, and Belha, all of those other places, Langa, they don't have the means to keep themselves safe. They are at the mercy of gangsterism and other types of violence that white people can't even imagine. So you cannot compare the levels of violence in South Africa and make a case that white people are the minority that are being persecuted in South Africa. That is just an outright lie. Now here's the truth. The truth is there is a group of white people that find the racism and racist environment that Donald Trump is creating in America more appealing because that is what they are accustomed to and were accustomed to. You see, apartheid created a system where white people could dominate black and other groups of people, and they would always be on top of the hierarchy. Since 1994, that reality has been changed, and there is more and more competition in terms when it comes to work, land ownership, and wealth creation. And what we see, because the playing field is being leveled through laws and other types of means, is that we are seeing a growing black middle class in South Africa. So we start seeing the realization of the post-apartheid dream that we have that is put forward in the Constitution. A society that is created on non-racialism and human dignity. Now there's a group of white people that never accepted a democratic and free South Africa. They always wanted to dominate black people. So because Donald Trump is bold in his racism, they think that they will find the level of protection in the United States because Trump is openly racist. So it's that type of racism that appealed for them, and first they called that Donald Trump intervened in South African politics. Donald Trump couldn't do that because South Africa is a sovereign country that didn't do anything to anyone. So Donald Trump then decided, look, what I can do is I can grant you refuge in another racist country like the United States. Now, I followed the politics of the United States closely, and one of the realities that black and brown people in the United States are experiencing is the same levels of structural violence as black and brown people are experiencing in South Africa. The true refugees that really needs asylum are deported from the United States to make space for people like the 49 people who left South Africa because they found Trump's racism more appealing. So that's the truth. There's a group of people in South Africa that misses the old colonial and apartheid periods because it's only then that they felt some level of mastership or dominance and can live out this white fairy tale of being the best group of people this world have ever seen. So that's the truth. There is a group of people who still support racism. What Trump is speaking is what is appealing to them, and that is why they're leaving South Africa. Now this creates an opportunity for a lot of other people that feels the same way as this 49 people who have left South Africa. This is your opportunity to go to a country where the government is openly racist and would facilitate a process for you to leave the country of your birth and take on refugee status in another country. This is your opportunity to leave South Africa. If you do not leave South Africa, this is my appeal to you, and I beg you, please tie in to Nelson Mandela's Rainbow Nation and our Constitution. Our Constitution protects everyone and wants to make post-apartheid South Africa a more free, equal, and non-racial country for everyone. A country where a black child doesn't have to experience the structural violence that they're trapped in daily. And that is what we are trying to achieve with some of these laws. Nobody's land was taken from them. There is not a genocide against white people. White people are not the minority that has been persecuted the most. The indigenous groups of South Africa are still experiencing most of the structural violence that was implemented during colonialism and apartheid, and they are some of the most persecuted, oppressed, and marginalized of groups of people in South Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching, and I hope that you would stay in South Africa and work with us to achieve our vision and aim set out by the Constitution, but also what Nelson Mandela said, that we are truly a rainbow nation. A rainbow can only be in unity with all of those different colors. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.